All right, it is time to shine. It is time to shine. I'm your host, Julian Smartrimple, King Jewelz here with another very special episode of the Run the Jewelz podcast show and vidcast series. If you have been tracking with us any length of time, or whether this is your first time joining us, welcome to the RTJ show. The RTJ Lifestyle Show was created to spread inspiration to young professionals and millennial entrepreneurs who want to learn wisdom on how to shine brighter in their careers or their businesses. And so if you are a millennial, if you are a Gen Zer, or even if you are a baby boomer, we still have love for you, but definitely get ready to shine and also be ready to hear from our VIP guest who is going to teach you how to shine today for our episode. If you are interested in being a guest, if you are a king or a queen that has a dynamic testimony, or if you are an entrepreneur or young professional that is a standout leader and also a subject matter expert, feel free to click the link that's in the comment section below to sign up with our interest form, and our team will comb through your interest form and see if you have what it takes to fit our mission and our vision for the podcast show. But we appreciate all of our shining VIP guests who have been a part of our season for season 4 this year. You all, shout out to you all who have been a part of our tapestry, our international tapestry. And finally, you can listen to us on all podcast streaming platforms that you listen to your favorite podcasts or music icon artist on. We're literally just joining the Wisdom and Clubhouse community to give exclusive behind the scenes, firsthand access to our episodes that are live and pre-recorded. And so shout out to Wisdom and also Clubhouse for allowing us to, again, be a part of that platform and those platforms. And so without further ado, this is an interactive show, and so if you have any questions for my very special VIP guest who is going to be tracking with us today, feel free to ask any questions that you may have in the comment section below. And even if you're listening on Wisdom, we'll literally allow you to come onto the stage and ask my very special guest any questions that you may have of him. And so those are all of my housekeeping notices for today's episode. We are literally very close to finishing our season 4, but we put in a ton of work, a ton of time, and also a ton of patience to get us to the next level. And I'm excited for where we are headed, you all. And so we are going into how to acquire foreign assets in Africa for today's episode. If you have ever thought about acquiring land, real estate, or any other forms of assets in Africa specifically, whether you're here in the U.S. where we're located as our home base, or whether you're in Caribbean, Central South America, or even Europe potentially, feel free to literally tune in and share this content that we are about to drop on you all for today's episode, how to acquire foreign assets in Africa. And before I bring my special VIP guest on, I met this king via IG and even LinkedIn. One of the other brothers that I follow on LinkedIn that literally support teaching others about our history, especially African history and even African American history, but solely with the African first. He's definitely a scholar in his own right and an educator. He is in the entertainment industry, and so he's helping open up the minds and the eyes and the ears of the masses in order to be taught real African education and African history. And so shout out to all of the educators out there and the scholars and even the master teachers that are still keeping our history alive. And he goes by the name of the Keeper of the Jewels. And so it's very befitting that he's a part of our Run the Jewelz show, because he's a keeper of the jewels of wisdom. And so I'm going to let my very special VIP guest, Mr. Eric, the Keeper of the Jewels, share some of his story with you all today. And so, Eric, how you feeling today, King?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
Doing well, man. We appreciate you coming on for another segment of the RTJ show to Run the Jewelz with us, man. We appreciate you.
It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. So if you could start off by just telling us, Eric, really quick, like where you're originally from, King, and also where you're tuning in from today, and then why this is an important subject for you to talk about.
Okay. Well, my name is Eric Majette. I have the pleasure of being known as the Keeper of the Jewels. I was given that name by the legendary Dick Gregory for my dedication to not only, acquiring and preserving and really saving a lot of our history. I have one of the world's largest traveling Black history museums, so that's why he named me the Keeper of the Jewels. From there, I come from Long Branch, New Jersey, small town right on the shore, and I currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia. That's pretty much the gist about me. I'm a veteran in the entertainment industry. I've been working in music, and well, actually, if I say everything, all entertainment, film, television, and music for the last, oh my God, almost 30 years.
Wow, that's phenomenal, King, right there, especially for being a veteran OG, triple OG in the entertainment industry. That's a blessing in itself right there. We know it's people that come in and out of entertainment, but we definitely appreciate you, Eric, for taking time out to share the jewels with us today. And so, like, let's start from the bottom. Like, how did you get into wanting to let's just say even share jewels with those people that look like myself and you, and that are a part of literally being uneducated or miseducated on our true history, and then we'll talk about how you got into acquiring assets in the motherland.
Okay. Wow. How did I get started? My actual start for even collecting, I'll say, learning more about our history started from 7th grade. I actually had my first Black male teacher. Representation is everything for us. And that was the first time I had seen myself represented in history as anything other than, enslaved. So that was the first time, 7th grade. My first Black male teacher, that was Mr. Hamlin. And he was my social studies teacher. And from there, just a love for finding out who I was. That was really my search early on. I had started doing research and wanted to know who I was since I was 8. Started with my family history. I'm a family historian. I trace my family history all the way back to past enslavement. Yes, actually, I can say that now. And then not too long ago, I got involved with African ancestry and was able to take it further back and actually tie my lineage back to the motherland. So that was amazing, just amazing process. And we're actually about to do some partnerships with African ancestry as well to further the story and actually keeping the jewels circulating.
Absolutely. It's all about keeping those jewels moving, and also in keeping things that are hidden exposed, so that we can literally see the fruit that has been hidden for years. And so shout out to all of those who are tuning in. I'm here with my very special guest, Eric, who is the Keeper of the Jewels. And you all are definitely going to be hearing his story on how he was able not just to be able to spread jewels of education when it comes to African history, but you'll even be hearing how he went to the source, the motherland, to acquire foreign assets in Africa with his program and his business. And so shout out to those who are tuning in. We are going to dive into our Q&A. But Eric, like how did you get literally a passion for African history? I know you said that the great late great Dick Gregory gave you the cosign and the salute to go ahead and keep the history going. But like how did you even get a zest and yearning to want to know about African history? Like who taught you it? Did someone in the family put a book in your hand, or someone wanted to tell you to keep this information alive? Like who got you inspired?
This was just something that God and the ancestors chose me for. It's been real interesting. People ask me all the time, like, how did you get into it? I was like, I really didn't get into it. It got into me. And then from there, it was such a love, a passion, just wanting to know, you dig a little bit, wanting to know your personal history. Then from there, it went from tracing my lineage now to who were we as a people, and then tracking all of that. And then along the way, I just started buying stuff. A lot of our history is up on the auction block. Most of our history is actually owned by outside entities. So it really took me, it was a nudge from the ancestors. I really can't say it was something that I did consciously. When you actually have a love for yourself, your people, and your history, you'll do everything that's necessary at all costs, by any means necessary, as Brother Malcolm would say, to preserve it. And once you realize that, Marcus Garvey's son, one of my mentors, Dr. Julius Garvey, he said to me, he who owns history controls history. And that was one of the things that really stuck with me. And as I was going along and going through my journey, researching and also purchasing history, I've amassed a collection of over about 15,000 original Black history artifacts. So it ranged from original 15th century maps of Africa all the way up to about, my most contemporary is Tupac's first publishing contract, a couple of signed Biggie his first album. And then you'll also see some plaques. I have also major plaques in the collection as well. So you see over my shoulder here, Tupac's multi-platinum album. It's a six-time multi-platinum album. So, and everything else in between. Like, I have the definitive collection on Marcus Garvey, Madam C.J. Walker, Annie Malone, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and the Black Panthers, and also Lorraine Hansberry. Those are my main definitive collections where no institution on the face of the planet can touch my collection. But yeah,
that's real right there, King. And shout out again to Tupac. I know he was born and of course in New York, but raised in the Bay Area where I'm from. So definitely that's one of my favorite hip hop artists. Shout out to the Bay and also to Pac. But yeah, it's a wealth of knowledge that you have, King, and especially when it comes to having the direct connection back to the source, which is the motherland. Like what made you want to even go to the motherland? Do you have friends and family that are already there? Did you get inspired by Dick Gregory and other of the activists move to go to Africa and actually learn more about the real history? Like, what was your reason to go over there?
It was just in me. It was just a return, realizing that I would be the first, I want to say amongst the first in my bloodline to actually return, specifically to the countries that I did. I was the first. My grandmother had traveled, and my great-grandmother actually traveled the world extensively before I was born. And I remember pictures in our basement, like in shoe boxes full of different pictures and everything. And they had went to Morocco and they went to Spain and, just covered all the major continents and everything. I was just like, man, I want to do that when I grow up, and then finding out more about our history and the rich heritage that we had, it was just something in me that was calling me. So my first journey to the motherland was actually in 2006. I went to Egypt, back to Kemet. And I spent 2 weeks there with one of our master teachers that was trained by Dr. Ben, Brother Ashra Kwesi. And 2 weeks literally it was absolutely amazing. I encourage anybody who wants to know who they are and really wants to take the time to do a guided tour where you've gone on with the master teacher. And for me, as I said, I went with Ashra Kwesi, who was one of the he was the top student from Dr. Ben, and you can't learn from any better than, Dr. Ben, who had studied for, decades, Kemet and the actual history, and took people on tour, took Black people on tours since the, 70s, 60s, actually. So it was an amazing process. We went pretty much the entire Egypt all the way down to Sudan. Phenomenal. So that was my first trip, and then I made my actual first trip to Ghana the end of October of this past year. And that was amazing. I literally traveled most of the major spaces in Ghana, and it was absolutely amazing. To both of the slave castles, and it was fantastic. You know, really just getting really in depth about where we had not had the opportunity to return, most of us, because of other things, you know, with his life, and also the discouragement of us going over there due to myths and stereotypes. So returning home was absolutely amazing. I had a friend that actually was going back and forth there, and they bought, we had been talking about it for years, and I told him I wanted to buy 7 acres. And he had been going over there, and right before the pandemic had kind of settled, and really paved the way, I would say, for me and others. He was doing tours, brother that lived here in Atlanta, moved over there, and that's really how I got, the way was made easier. You know, a lot of times, and I tell people when I do exhibits and everything, there's always somebody that paved the way for us. So my brother, he paved the way for me to be able to come over there. He took me around and actually introduced me to the same elders and the land. That was really the most important thing. He had acquired, I want to say he had acquired 4 acres. And I was like, oh man, it's time. Like, if I don't come now, time just kept passing. You know, for the last 6-7 years, I just never had time because I was always working and grinding. And then I realized, I was like, look, if I don't make time, time is going to continue to pass. And that's really how I got introduced to the motherland, to the elders, and that's how everything started.
Man, I love it, King. I love it. It's always being in position at the right time in the right place. Absolutely. Especially when it comes to already having your eyes and your ears open from going to the East first and then going to the West, which is, it's always a toss up when I hear from people that are going for the first time to either start in the East or start in the West first. But both places that you went to, especially, are very much so heavily sought after for any real historians or African master teachers to start, particularly in Egypt, and then make your way over to Ghana. And so shout out again to those who are tuning in. We are here with my very special guest, Mr. Eric, the keeper of the jewels. And he is talking about how he was able to acquire foreign assets in Africa. And so, Eric, we're going to give you one quick second, King, to catch your breath so we can highlight our VIP sponsor for today's episode. Each episode, for those who are tracking with us for the first time, we highlight one of our sponsors or affiliate partners that we have sponsoring our episodes for season 4. And so let's take a look and see who our VIP sponsor is for today's episode, you all. Let's take a look. Shout out again to our VIP sponsor for today, which comes from none other than Fits for Kings and Queens, you all. Each and every episode, we do highlight a VIP sponsor that literally is our partner for all of our episodes that we've had for this season. And so shout out again to all of our VIP sponsors that have been part of our tapestry for this season, you all. We could not have made this a success without our VIP sponsors and also affiliate partners. And so today's episode is sponsored by Fits for Kings and Queens. You can click the link that's tagged in the comment section below to go on Facebook or on IG to Fits for Kings and Queens, or you can go to the actual online store by clicking on the link that is in the comment section below to see what new African focused and also African inspired clothing and apparel they have to offer for this season, you all. And so shout out to Fits for Kings and Queens. But back to you, Eric. We definitely wanted to talk about the acquisition process. I know you've been highlighting that. I've been seeing you on social, and our team has been following you on social, how you went to Ghana, as you were just leading into right before the commercial break. And like, how did you go into that process? Did you know someone firsthand that was able to walk you through in Ghana? Like, talk to us about the whole process, how you acquired the land.
Okay, yeah. So my brother that I was talking about, Kamin, Comedic Yogi, is his social media. Like, he's amazing, brother. I've been knowing him for years, probably about a decade. And he used to go around and, well, still goes around and does tours doing comedic yoga, excuse me. And we had a few, maybe about 5-6 years ago, we went to Costa Rica. And I did actually a month in Costa Rica, and we really bonded there. And then from there, we just kept going. He went over to Egypt, excuse me, not Egypt, but Ghana, and was doing tours over there. Then came back and was, other different countries. And finally, I said to him, I was like, look, I need to come over there. Like, I really do. And he had been there stationed pretty much full time since right before COVID, and settled. So I was like, I think it's time. And from there, we went ahead and set up the date. I came. He literally took me across the entire country. Like, we went from everywhere, like to, we went to Cape Three Points. We went to, God, I'm trying to remember all of the different places. But where he settled at is actually in the Volta region. So we were actually out in the bush, as it's called. So we were out in the village and everything, and it's literally right on the border of Togo and Ghana. It's in the Volta region, as I said, and I specifically got to purchase land. It's an acre, and it's right on the lakefront of the Volta. And the process was relatively easy for me. Only because, as I said, sometimes we are tied to different people, and there are others that lay the foundation and lay the way for us. And he actually paved the way for me, because by that time he had been there already 2 years full time. So he had already acquired his land, and we were tied directly to the chief and the elders there. So it was a very easy process for me. Now, for other people, the process can be totally different. If you're buying in the city area, whether it's in Accra or wherever, there's a total different process. So there's not one particular way. And I kind of want people to know that. But we definitely want to make sure that we're in the process of doing this. We have the opportunity to change our lineage, to change our history. And right now we're being left behind in a lot of ways. Right now, the Chinese is buying up a lot of land over there, in masses. So we need to make sure that we're part of this great migration, if you will. This is the time when we have more Africans abroad, specifically African Americans, that are going back home, whether we're repatriating or just making it a vacation home, if you will. But it's something that we need to make sure that we're doing and participating in, because we can't let everybody else, take over our birthright. This is our birthright. And we have an opportunity to make sure that we're going home to make sure that we're making everything better for us here and also there. As Garvey says, until Africa's free, none of us are free.
That's real right there, King. We got to get land and also acquire real estate that is in the motherland, especially if you want to have a safe haven, as I always
Absolutely.
say, for retreating to if stuff starts to get too hot in your native country that you're in. You gotta have some land and also some property to go home, and even some farmland in the motherland. And so, like, stay with that point right there too, King. I know we just recently spoke to King that is an economist out of Accra, and he was telling us about like how, as you mentioned, Eric, the Arabs and the Chinese particularly, and he even said some Indians, but mostly a lot of folks from the Asian nations are coming out and buying up like acres by the busload over in West Africa, especially where he's at in Accra. And so like why do you think, just like here in the US, we hear all the time with the gentrification, you and I are in Atlanta, where people are buying up the inner cities that were considered to be hoods back in the 90s and early 2000s, and now they're of course being regentrified. Like why do you think a lot of the citizens, especially in the motherland, are like giving up or allowing outsiders or foreigners to purchase their land? Like what are some of your thoughts on that personally?
My personal thoughts are, right now, it's everybody needs money. You know, we're in different economic everywhere is we're in an economic depression, but also it's being felt more because of the I guess you can kind of call it like I don't even know if it's a trade war right now, but all of the things that are happening that are delaying shipments and stuff like that, it's really causing an economic hardship for everybody. So one of the things that we do recognize is that we actually have land that's worth money. Right now over in Africa, you know, because of some leadership and stuff like that, everything is up for grabs. You know, just like here, you know, unfortunately, we do have people that will work in their own economic interest instead of, you know, trying to make sure that we as a people are able to make a come up. You know, and that's one of the things that I think that's important now that people are realizing is, like, you know, out in the village area where most people are not, you know, for many purposes, you know, whether it's the roads, like it's such a underdeveloped space. And specifically in Ghana, it's absolutely amazing to see the business opportunities that are there. You know, whether you're in development, whether you're in real estate, you know, a lot of these things are untouched and untapped and undertouched and undertapped. So it's an opportunity for you to take your expertise and become a big fish in a small pond. So that's the main thing that's important right now. We cannot be left behind, especially as it relates to our own motherland. We don't want other people going there to take over and benefiting from really what we should. We've already lost our birthright. So at this point, we need to go ahead and make sure we're being leaders in the forefront of the development of, you know, our the motherland, the continent in itself, but specifically in Ghana, I say, and Nigeria. But specifically my experiences in Ghana. So it's a beautiful country. It's absolutely amazing. You know, all the different stereotypes that we've heard for the last 100 years of why we should not go to Africa was the same reason they were telling us that, and they were going to Africa. You know, the Europeans were vacationing in Africa long before we ever really understood everything that was in the motherland. You know, here in America, we had all the infomercials and, you know, Save the Children. So we thought this was an impoverished place that, you know, there was nothing there for us, and that this was, you know, it was jungles and it was uncivilized. This was the image that Europeans wanted us to have. They wanted us to think that this was how it was, but all the time while they were making money off of, you know, the land, the natural resources, and exploiting the people. And now it's time for us to look past the myths and also the stereotypes and actually go see for ourselves. I never, you know, take for face value what is reported, you know, because of course it's always an agenda. So when you actually go over there and see for yourself, you have amazing, amazing places that actually are far more civilized than what we have here and across Europe. We have to remember that Africa was the home, the bed, the cradle of civilization. So you can't have some Johnny come latelys that literally came out of the dark ages when we were already, pioneering in many different areas. We had been traveling the world for millennia, So it's really taking a firsthand look and journey for yourself.
Yeah, you dropping a ton of jewels right there, King. We gotta get them jewels on brother King E right here. Eric is dropping, the keeper of the jewels, that is. He's dropping a ton of information on why we, especially you, me, and us, we need to acquire foreign assets in Africa, in the motherland, especially if you are an individual of the darker hue like myself and like Eric. You will need to get that process underway, you all. There's tons of resources. There's tons of opportunity out there. And even in Ghana, Eric, you could correct me if I'm wrong. Do you have to go through getting a visa process? Like, what's the process to get out?
Oh, to visit, yes. To visit, yes. You just need to have a passport and apply for a visa. It's very, very simple. It's literally like going, if you've ever been to the Bahamas or even Mexico, Dominican Republic, whatever, you just have to have your passport. And then it's a very simple process to apply for the visa. So it's very simple. It can be a single visa. It could be a multi-entry. It's so many different opportunities. I would always encourage people to go ahead and go for the gusto. Get you a multi-visit, which, can last for several years. I think the increments are like 10 years or something. Don't quote me on that, but it's just like when I went over to China. One of the things that I did was to go over there. A lot of my friends in the industry, the entertainment industry, were just complaining about how high priced things were. So I went over to create international trade lines for Black businesses. I was in China for almost 2 years and, searched out the manufacturers and stuff like that for specific things. So this is something that I've been doing. And then finally it was time to go home to make sure that I can bridge those gaps from, as Garvey would say, for Africans at home and abroad. At home being on the continent, and abroad us, in all the scattered places where we found ourselves in. Yeah.
No, that's real right there, King, especially when it comes to having that entry and the entry requirements. That is vital, because people think it's so difficult to get over to Africa. And then when you're able to see people like yourself, I've been to Liberia. That was my first trip to Africa. And I was literally going to Ghana the next year along with Sierra Leone. But then, of course, COVID shut that down. So I'm still wanting to make my way back to Ghana and Sierra Leone sometime soon. But people think it's so difficult to get over there. It's outrageous. And just like you mentioned, I'm glad you talked about the travelers that are of European descent and other, especially Asian travelers that come out to Ghana, because they see the beaches, they see the property value, they see the resources that are in each of the countries. And so, like, what did you see that got you locked into Ghana? Was it some of their resources, and even educate some of the people on what are some of the resources that are exported out of Ghana?
Okay. Actually, I fell in love with just Ghana before I even came. It was, I knew I wanted to buy property there. I knew that was going to be because of the things that are going on as it relates to repatriation, dual citizenship. I wanted to make sure that I was going to be in that number of us that are making, the way over there, whether it's permanently, whether it's, by continental. I don't know if that's a word, but I did make that up. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to function here and also there. One of the major things also is dealing with, I like to create some stuff. Out of necessity, we are natural creators. So like my grandmother had restless leg syndrome. So it was very difficult for her to rest at night. And so going with just our wisdom and what's in our DNA, creating some things. So I created a salve that would work towards calming down her nerves using different natural remedies, and created that. And one of the major exports out of Ghana is shea butter. And that's one of the great I guess you could say surface instruments, we'll say, to help to penetrate the skin. Once you put it on, and it actually keeps a good lather on the skin and coats your skin very well. So whatever other elements you're using in particular creams and stuff like that it would help it stay. So instead of us going through, and one of the major importers of shea butter in the United States are Asians. So I was just saying, why should we have to go through a middleman to get something that we actually make ourselves? So that was really one of the things, one of the reasons why I decided to go to Ghana. And along the way, I just found myself just wanting to document that experience. So I'm in the process of creating a documentary based off of my first return home. So that's one item that I've been working on as it relates to the exports. But there's other things, there's so many other amazing things, the jewelry, whether it's fabric, everything that we actually need to create international trade lines between Black America and, Africa. We have everything that we need. So anything that you can anything you can want, whether it's jewelry, whether it's the natural resources on the continent, like we have no reason why we need to go through other people when we can go ahead and create those trade lines ourselves.
Man, that's so true, King. When it comes to the shea butter, I always get my shea butter, from a lot of the local Ghanaians, especially who
Absolutely.
get it direct. And so I love my shea butter, the whip shea butter, or any of the type of shea butter. I'm always down with having the shea, especially in the summertime. And so shout out to all the Ghanaians, especially those that are the artisans and those that are the producers of products that we sometimes don't even know. Just like cocoa, we know Ghana is very much so a heavy exporter of cocoa. So all the chocolate gurus and the chocolate connoisseurs that are here in the States, that more than likely is coming directly from Ghana, where Eric is telling us about.
Indirectly.
Yeah.
So they're it's going from Ghana then to, I think it's Sweden.
Sweden.
They're the biggest importers, and I'm like, this is so backwards for us to have to go through someone else when we can go directly to the source and making sure it's a fair trade.
Right.
That's the other thing, and that's keeping our dollar, circulating, amongst our communities. And that's one of the major things that I really push. As long as we can keep our dollars circulating, we can literally keep generational wealth flowing in our communities, whether it's here or back on the motherland. Actually, it's both. It needs to be both. It needs to be circulating everywhere.
That's a jewel in itself, practicing those group economics, as Dr. Claude and others, and even Garveyites have, and Malcolm have even said from the beginning, practicing those group economics is critical now more than ever. And so, like, break down too, Eric, before we let you transition into the final jewel shortly, like how was the process to acquire the land? Did you have to go and get like a voting process from the head of any of the villages? Did you have did you have to?
So what the process is? Yeah. So what the process is, or the process for me, because we were in the bush or whatever. So you have basically your city council is actually the elders, and the chief. So those are the ones that you actually, for me, from my experience, because I bought in the village, in the rural area. So we went directly to the chief and the family that actually owned the land. So what they do is there's a whole ceremony. So you have the elders come out, the family members and everything. You sit there, you go through the process. You go through actually signing a document, a contract, and from there, everybody signs each one of the contracts. Everybody that's involved gets a copy of the contract, and then from there, there's actually a ceremony where there's it's almost like a rites of passage, and there's the pouring of libations. It's such an amazing process. It's actually, I have it documented in the documentary that I'm working on. So you actually see the entire process, the signing process. We're all sitting around the table on the veranda in the village, and it was such an amazing process. It was surreal for me because I'm like, wow, this is really actually happening. And after that is done, then you take it to the I guess you can say the municipality, to file the contracts. And then from there, there's, I guess you can say there's kind of like a state organization that you actually file it with as well. And once that's done, the process is complete and it's registered with the government.
Wow. No, that's critical right there, King, especially when it comes to having to talk to the elders and the chief. That sounds like, especially the way that it's been since the beginning of time, where you always got to get co-signed from literally those who are the elders in order to get access to the resources and the assets. And then even, you know, Eric, someone's going to want to know about, like, how much money should someone stack up in order to even start the process if you're here in the States, or even in, let's say, Europe or the Caribbean or Central or South America. Like, how much money ideally should you begin to start saving up? And then what is the process of, like, any of the legal documents and the payment for that? Like, talk to us about the numbers.
All right. So on average, and it's going up increasingly because, like, as I said, you have other foreigners that are coming in, such as the Chinese and others of, I guess it's the Asian Pacific area, that are really coming over there. And so entry points is between 10 and 15,000. That will get you an acre. And going up, but it also depends on what area. That's the real major part. If you're going towards more Accra, it's going to be more costly. If you're going on the coast, where, you know, there's the beach and everything, it's going to be more costly. But for the rural area, where I am specifically, I'm literally right lakefront, right on the Volta, in, you know, on the border of Ghana and Togo. So it's absolutely amazing. That's the bordering countries. So that's where I was, but specifically, you know, that area is going to range you between 10 and 15,000 for specific an acre. But as I said, as you go to other areas that are more accessible, it's going to be more costly. So that's the range. You definitely want to make sure you do title searches and everything. You want to make sure that you actually do your due diligence, because there is a lot of fraud. So you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence, and if you can, get with one of the organizations that are over there. You know, in a later when I come back on an episode, we can go ahead and go into more different organizations that are supporting African Americans, or, you know, Africans abroad, as Garvey would say, on their repatriation. So there are different groups and organizations that have, you know, settlements that are that have bought up land and then now are selling it, you know, for those that want to repatriate. So there are other ways so that you can make sure that your investment is safe. You know, there's a lot of fraud, as I said. So what that is that people are selling and reselling land that they don't own. You know, so it is, you know, one of the things that is a big scam over there. But you want to make sure that you're doing it the right way. Do your due diligence as you would any property here or wherever you live. You know, you would do a title search just to see who is, you know, the people that you're dealing with. You want to make sure, and then also document the process for your own self, but also for perpetuity, for any legal issues. You got everybody that's involved, you know, so you want to just make sure that you're protecting yourself in every way.
Yeah, you dropping a ton of jewels with that right there, King. People think that there's not scammers and hustlers outside of the U.S., just like there's tons here in the U.S. And you always have to do your due diligence when you're investing in yourself or in any assets, especially foreign assets, you all. And so, word to the wise, make sure you always do due diligence, like Eric is telling us today. And so, Eric, I know we definitely got to have you come back for a part two to talk more about your process of literally going through the back end now that you have the land. What are some of your goals and visions of the land, and even from the entertainment industry, because that's even a good segue in itself. And so, like, we've talked about how you went to East Africa and Egypt specifically with a master teacher to really learn about the motherland, and then that inspired you to go to Ghana in order to literally be inspired enough to acquire land. And so, like, what would be a final jewel, Eric, that you would want to leave with people when it comes to the process of how to acquire foreign assets in Africa, and why, again, they should get off the sidelines and not wait? What would be a final jewel of wisdom that you would want to leave with the audience on what we've talked about today?
Oh, reclaim your birthright. That's literally the final thought. Reclaim your birthright. We've we've had our birthrights stolen from us. And then now sometimes we're actually actively allowing our birthright to pass by us. So this is your opportunity to reclaim your time, as Auntie Maxine said, but also to reclaim your birthright. You know, don't take Europeans or, you know, the stereotypical people, don't take their persuading of you not going back. There's a reason they don't want you to go back. There's a reason that they've tried to keep us separated, you know, across the diaspora. And it's time for us to unite, because when we actually unite, that's when things change. So I definitely want to impart that with you. We owe it to our ancestors and to our future generation to make sure that we're uniting, because as a people, we've never been an island. You know how the saying is, no man is an island. We literally are so powerful together. You know, it's just like looking at a hand. You know, individually, you know, the hand is weak, but once you put your fingers together and create a fist, that's when everything is almost impenetrable. So that's how we have to think about it. Reclaim your birthright.
That's real. Just like Eric is saying, including myself, we got to get back to the basics and reclaiming where we have originated, especially in Africa, particularly in West and East, Central, North, or even South Africa. And so, Eric, like, how can people stay in touch with you, King? I know we've talked a lot about literally the importance of going back to the source, but how can people support you? How can they stay in tune with your business and your services, or even your documentary that you're going to be releasing on your explorations to the motherland? How can they stay in touch with you?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram at the Keeper of the Jewels. Also, you can follow on my personal page, which is the Mr. Majestic. And also the website, if you want to try to see what's going on with the museum and everything, you can go to blackhistoryarchives.com. And again, that's blackhistoryarchives.com. You'll be able to see some of the images from our 15,000 pieces when we're doing tours in your area, and just keeping up with the history.
Absolutely. And that's blackhistoryarchives.com.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So y'all definitely go to blackhistoryarchives.com, and also follow Eric at the Mr. Majestic and the Keeper of the Jewels on all social media, and definitely go to blackhistoryarchives.com. And so, Eric, I know we always got to say a special prayer and special blessing over any of those that come on the show and share their time, and also share their wealth of knowledge with us. And so we're going to say a special prayer over you real quick. But if you have those who are still watching and listening with us enjoy today's episode with Eric, feel free to sow a seed with us and to partner with us. You're sowing into good soil here. But you can sow via two ways. You can Cash App us at $SMART, SMART, JEWELZ, or you can consider partnering with us, like all the names you see at the bottom of the ticker going across, and become a Patreon or a monthly subscriber or supporter with us. And so no donation is too small or too large. We appreciate those sponsors, those donors, and also those partners that we have teamed up with to make season 4 extravagant and awesome season thus far. And so thank you all to all of the supporters and also all of the donors. And then Eric, I'm gonna say a quick prayer over you, King, and then let you enjoy the rest of your day, man.
Absolutely.
Father God, I just want to thank you for allowing Eric to be able to just come on our show, Father, and just be able to just show us the way back to the source where you are, and also where you have created us from. We thank you for the knowledge and the wealth of information that you have transferred into him from any of the master teachers and elders that he studied under. And we know that we have to learn from the master teachers as students in order for us to become the teacher. And we thank you for just his humility and also his willingness to educate others and to be patient with others who may not want to turn that light switch over in order to know that we are kings and queens and that we come from great stock. And also we are the righteous sons and daughters of you, Yah. And so we thank you for his journey and his mission, his purpose. We pray that you will sow into him even more than what he's even imagined this season, with new international partnerships new business clients, and even just new opportunities to use his gifts on a higher and also on a wider and international level. And we thank you for all that you are doing in his life, and we pray that you will guide him and also guide his ministry and his business so that it can be fruitful and multiply this season. We love you, Father. I praise you and I honor you, and it's in Yahshua HaMashiach's name, the Christ's name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
We appreciate you, E, coming on, King. We definitely going to set up
Absolutely.
a part 2 with you, man, to definitely let people know how the process is going with the land. And even they definitely need to know about your industry of entertainment here in Atlanta, because we'll save that for a part 2. But this man is a mover and a shaker here in Atlanta. You definitely got to stay tuned for a part 2 from Eric, the keeper of the jewels, later on. So, Eric, you enjoy the rest of your day, King, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. All right. Take it easy.
Peace.
All right, peace.
All right, y'all. I'm going to do some final jewels for thought. Shout out again to Eric, who is the keeper of the jewels, who has dropped a ton of information on you, myself, and all of you all who are listening today on why it is important for us to return back to the source and why we need to not be afraid to find out the truth for ourselves and to not listen to all the lies, to all the stereotypes, as Eric said, or even to the miseducation that people think that Africa is not the source of man, of woman, and is also not the richest continent on the face of the planet. If it was not filled with resources, everyone would not be out there trying to galvanize, trying to rape, pillage, and also steal even from the source, which is able to produce 99% of the products and services that we need across the globe. And so definitely go for yourself. I've been to Liberia. Eric told you he's been to East and West Africa, which I plan on traveling to the East in the near future too. But you have to start now and to start somewhere. It doesn't matter where you go in the motherland, just as long as you go to see for yourself, you'll be able to be enlightened and to also empower and educate others on your journey back to your home base country, wherever that is, where you may reside. And so I'm going to show you just some quick updates on what we're doing for the RTJ show to let you all in sneak peek to what is taking place as we wind down season 4. You all take a look and see what we have to offer. And so for those who are interested in starting their own podcast show or their live stream show or vidcast series like we do, let's help make your show or your video or your podcast more professional. We offer services through our organization that powers the Run the Jewelz Show via www.smartjewelzenterprises.org. We have podcast show creation services, whether you need technical assistance that are in the background for your live streams or your podcasts or your virtual classrooms. If you do courses or meeting solutions or even webinars, let us help make your show more professional and also let us help launch your show. You can reach new audiences each and every week, each and every month, just by being a consistent podcaster or live streamer. And the secret is right in front of you. And so let's talk. You can sign up for a free 30-minute discovery session just by going to www.smartjewelzenterprises.org. Also, we just recently, in commemoration of our 200th episode this season, have launched our merch line for, again, the Run the Jewelz podcast show and Smart Jewelz Network. And so we have our Just Shine collection that we just recently released again this season. And so for men and women, you can go and look at our collection that we're going to be building out as we go into the next seasons, and to see exactly how you could find another way to support us if you don't choose to donate or choose to sow or become a sponsor or a partnership with us. You could also purchase some merch. We do have a new merch collection that we just launched. So go to the website that we're putting in our comment section right now to purchase some of the Smart Jewelz merch with us for season 4. Also, Stay tuned, you all. We are transitioning our podcast show on the road. I'm excited for what our team is doing this season. We literally are transitioning into a travel and lifestyle show for this next season, where we're going to all different nations, all different countries, all different continents. And we're going to be talking to young professionals and entrepreneurs about their culture, about their economy, about their food, and even most importantly about their businesses and also local services. And so stay tuned. Our team just came back from El Salvador. We literally went to New Orleans, and we're going to Asia literally later this year, and especially to the motherland in the near future, to go and show you from ground zero what is happening over in these countries, these nations, and these continents. And so stay tuned, you all. We are literally taking this global show on the road again. And so those are all of my final jewels for thought. King Jewelz signing off for our episode today with Mr. Eric, the keeper of the jewels. Visit us at www.smartjewelsenterprises.org to get started on your podcast or your live stream show today. And it's been a pleasure serving you. I'm King Jewelz signing off. Stay hydrated, stay blessed, and stay with the light that is within you, and tap into that light, spread that light, and continue to grow that light, because someone needs to shine bright that is in darkness, and you have to open your mouth and speak. I'll see you all next time. Stay tuned. Stay blessed. Peace.